Всем привет, я Арен, а это Genshin Impact, и сегодня мы продолжим прохождение задания легенд Шилонен. Всем приятного просмотра!
You two can wait outside for a moment. I just need to go in and grab something. The workshop is a little messy, so unfortunately, I won't be able to show you around.
А я хочу посмотреть, обожаю беспорядки.
Oh, yeah, that's not really what I mean. It's not the mess that's really the problem. It's just that the workshop is cluttered with way too much stuff. Books, files, and even ancient texts I got from the Masters of the Nightwind. Everything's piled up to the ceiling. You probably won't know where to step once you're inside. Kachina suffered quite an unfortunate series of events the last time she went inside. Well, I suppose it was my fault for being so focused on searching for information at the time that I forgot to lock the door. After entering the workshop, she was shocked to find herself face to face with a massive woven scroll from the Masters of the Nightwind, and then she turned around and knocked over a huge stack of forging blueprints. She tried to step out of the way, but tripped on a poster tube that was behind her, and then boom! The forging blueprints came crashing down right onto her head.
Oh no!
И как, с ней все в порядке?
She's lucky I noticed in time. I found Kachina in a daze and managed to save her before an entire set of the history of the Children of Echoes was about to bury her. I then dragged her up to the second floor. Ever since then, Kachina always waits outside the door and doesn't dare take a step in whenever she comes to see me.
Там, правда, так много книг? Я думала, в мастерской должны быть одни инструменты.
Yeah, you're an artisan and craftswoman after all. We thought there would be weapons and armor hanging all over the place. But it seems more like a library than a workshop.
Well, my primary work is forging ancient names, which is much trickier than making swords and tools. Aside from the necessary craftsmanship, I also need to consult many ancient texts. You probably already know that each ancient name represents a certain spirit, behind which are countless related stories to support it. In other words, the essence of an ancient name is the physical manifestation of a certain spiritual will. And as a name engraver, when I'm working on a new ancient name, I'm not only trying to give it a physical shape, but more importantly, I'm also trying to understand the spirit contained within the name. And to do that, I have to collect as many related stories as possible and read through them all. But, as you might know, people tend to add a lot of extraneous details when it comes to stories about themselves. For stories that have been clearly exaggerated or altered, I must gather other related stories and information as cross-references. This way, I can filter out all the absurd and exaggerated details and restore the person's life to its true nature. Only in true stories can you find the authentic spirit. And this is the only way for the spirit to become an ancient name that matches its essence.
We've heard about the concept behind ancient names before, but after hearing you explain the details, Paimon can't help but think that ancient names are really powerful.
Были бы они еще немного сильнее.
Well, no matter how powerful ancient names could be, they would never be able to suddenly turn into a blade or allow you to smash through an entire cliff in one punch. It's just a form of spiritual power that's passed down from generation to generation. It doesn't have those kinds of physically tangible effects. Well, take your own names, for example. From the moment you appeared in this world, some person had already prepared a blessing for you. And that person then condensed this blessing into your name and gave it to you as a gift. It may feel like the moment you received your name is already in the past, but it will always stay with you and move with you in the future. Names are blessings for the future from people standing in the past. Well, that's what Auntie once told me. And with this blessing, people will become more confident as they walk into their future. To put it another way, it's like having a lamp in your hand as you walk through the darkness of night.
Oh, Paimon gets that. If you're alone when you're walking in the dark, it's easy to get scared and tired quickly. if someone else is walking with you, then it won't be nearly as scary. And, well, you might still get tired, but it'll still be a whole lot better than walking alone. The traveler always has Paimon by her side, though, so she'll never have to worry about that. Oh, Paimon sure many wish they could be in your shoes, traveler.
Только вот почему-то в дороге ты всегда остаешь раньше меня.
Paimon's always flying, of course it gets tiring. But we're getting off topic, we can talk about that later.
Постарайся не уснуть в следующий раз, когда будешь ехать у меня на спине.
Anyway, this is what Tlасоли told me when I was training as a name engraver. And to be honest, I've only understood 20% of what she said at most. I've never been able to figure out the rest.
But doesn't that mean you basically don't get it?
Well, that's not entirely true. Auntie and I have at least come to a consensus on the most important thing. You know what? I am sick of talking. We can talk about all of this later. Please, wait a moment while I grab my things.
Шилонен открывает дверь и уходит в мастерскую. Вы с тревогой слышите, как глухо падает что-то тяжелое. Затем следует противный скрип и скрежет. Наконец Шилонен возвращается с коробкой в руках. Она оборачивается и закрывает дверь ногой, оставляя внутри грохот падающих на пол книг в клубах пыли.
Did you hear a whole section of something collapse in there just now?
It's fine, it's fine. It was just a bunch of very old ancient name records. I've already made copies of them. I kept this set of phlogiston wedges in the back, so it wasn't easy to take out. I had to resort to brute force. Come on, let's go disassemble the central inscription. It shouldn't take long.
Ну, пойдем посмотрим. Не сказать, чтобы я отличалась особой чистюльностью, но не настолько же впредь опасно. Это не то, что качина там и может пострадать, но и сама Шилонен. Можно хоть как-то куда-то это сортировать, я не знаю. Это склад себе дополнительно оформить.
Here we are. This is the place.
This cliff is pretty high. What are we going to do here? Are we going to climb to the very top and then throw this inscription down the cliff?
Пайман, нам надо ее разобрать, а не разбить.
I'm going to use phlogiston to make an engraving circle on the cliff wall. That will allow me to investigate the internals of the central inscription. Now let me see if this thing can even turn on. I was still an apprentice last time I used it. Before we attempt to engrave the inside pattern of an ancient name with phlogiston, we always use this to draw out the engraving diagram on a cliff or open ground. Only after we've confirmed that phlogiston can flow properly through the internal engravings can we start formally working on the small internal engravings of the ancient name. If we want to dismantle the central inscription in a non-destructive manner, we'll have to use this thing. I really don't want to engrave such a large diagram with my bare hands.
Oh, so you'll be able to see what it looks like on the inside without ruining Tlosoli's inscription?
For the most part. If it were just an ordinary unfinished ancient name piece, I'd just take it apart and pour phlogiston into the internal engravings to see everything. But since it's a central inscription, it would be better not to destroy the blessing that Auntie has prepared for Nečke.
So, Shilonen, does this central inscription fall under the 20% you understand about ancient names, or the other 80% you don't understand?
С вероятностью 80%.
Oh, don't worry. As I said, Auntie and I share an understanding of the most important principle, which is names are intrinsically valuable. Only by having names can things be sorted and categorized. They allow the world to become more orderly and identifiable. For example, when I order ore, I would usually say I need volcanic crystals of about 35% purity and no more than 3% of impurities. Without specific names, I would only be able to go to the ore merchant and say, I want this and this. No, this isn't it. That one. No, not that one either. Yeah, you see what I mean? Names are a crucial part of how we standardize our workflow. Without names, the work would be impossible.
Звучит разумно.
Yes, because forging ancient names is first and foremost a technical job. There's no debating that. As for the question of why it's important, as long as it does not affect your ability to perform your work, you'll gradually understand it as you put the process into practice.
Для тебя эффективность всегда на первом месте?
After all, creating an ancient name is quite the complicated process. Well, let me break it down even further. We're not in the tribe right now anyway. Essentially, by forging ancient names, I'm assigning nicknames to the heroes in Outland's history. Giving someone a name is a subjective expression. You just need to express your hopes and wishes for them. But giving someone a nickname is a much more objective expression. To come up with a fitting and accurate nickname requires much thought and observation. If ancient names or nicknames aren't descriptive enough, no one will remember them anyway. So the best I can do is gather all the information I could and try to come up with the most fitting nicknames possible. Even a minor mistake in the process could cause people to misunderstand the nickname. For a name engraver such as myself, such mistakes would be considered a major blunder.
Пайман, ты у нас мастер давать прозвища.
Paimon isn't trying to come up with a nickname for Shilonen. Besides, all of Paimon's nicknames have been very descriptive. Everyone can remember them.
Phew. Now I'm curious. Why don't you, come up with one for me?
Are you serious?
Of course. This is also my line of work, you know. Go ahead.
A nickname? Shilonen. Well, she uses phlogiston to forge weapons and make names for others.
Пайман, главное, не лопни от усердия.
Smith?
Yeah, not bad, not bad. And quite fitting, too. I'll remember it. But, you should keep observing my work, Paimon. Maybe you'll come up with an even better nickname. Right, okay. Time to make like a smith and start smithing. Watch closely.
Ух ты. Ну хорошо, поехали.
Adjust the inclination by 2 degrees. Stop. The error margin is within an acceptable amount, but I'll extend the inscription link a little more just to be safe. I'll leave some space here. When the linked engravings are activated, the inscriptions here will overlap with each other. There! That should complete the flow.
О, это же бур.
Amazing, Shilonen! You were running all over that cliff as if it was flat ground!
Это дар Детей Эха.
Oh no, it doesn't have anything to do with my tribe. It's just the phlogiston adhesive I have on my shoes. But after all that running around, I'll have to infuse them with more phlogiston again. I should prepare a spare supply of phlogiston to bring with me next time.
Подожди, у тебя и все снаряжение уже с собой?
More or less, yeah. I usually have at least the key equipment on hand. I can show them to you when we next find the time, but let's get to work first. Let me see. Start with anchor 1 and activate it with density 3 phlogiston.
Whoa! A super huge diagram just appeared! Tlosoli's central inscription is even floating!
Спустя некоторое время флогистоновые импульсы прекращаются. Центральная надпись возвращается в руки Шилонен.
So are you done checking the inscription, Shilonen? How does it look?
I didn't find any anomalies in the phlogiston engraving. All the adjustments are indeed based on ancient name engraving techniques.
То есть все в порядке?
That means we can help Tlасоли and Nечке now, right?
Well, probably, but I have good news and bad news. Oh, but I'm also just going to go ahead and share both, so it's not like you'll have a choice in the matter.
Paimon will cover her ears after the good news.
Well, even if you cover your ears, the issue will still continue to exist. But, before we get to that, I want to ask the traveler a question. What are your thoughts on absorbing memories?
Я думаю, здесь что-то не так.
I knew you felt the same way, and that'll save me some initial explanation. I've never been very good at that anyway. It's hard to control the absorption of memories. Technically speaking, this type of inscription has the power to do far more than absorb memories related to a single person. By herself, Auntie can't handle that level and scope of work, but if she has accomplices, it is completely possible for her to use this inscription to accomplish far bigger things.
Accomplices? You make it sound like she's committing a crime!
Well, here's the good news. Yes, this blaze gem inscription would be the perfect tool to commit crimes, but we haven't found any accomplices or signs that she intends to put it to such uses. From a purely objective standpoint, we can consider that possibility as yet to be confirmed for now. The bad news is, there's still an underlying problem with this blaze gem inscription that cannot be ignored. I believe I've mentioned this before. Ancient names operate with the help of the Wayab, granting them the power to read information kept in the ley lines. In this process, the Wayab actually function like relays, helping the ancient name bearer sense the information from within the ley lines. If you remove the Wayab from the process and don't use any tools, then finding a specific story is akin to trying to scoop up a specific grain of sand from a rushing river.
Не успев выловить такую песчинку, человек утонет.
Yeah, exactly. Anyone who attempts to do so will likely lose most of their cognitive function or become a babbling madman who talks to themselves all day long. Now, let's consider the memories that Auntie has gathered as the ley line, and Nečke as the only ancient name bearer of this ley line. There's no way Auntie would let Nečke plunge into the river of memories without any tools. She'd only be overwhelmed by the surge of memories. And considering that Nečke has forgotten all of her past, she'll be unable to work on her own to accurately find the correct past. Only Aunt Tlasoli can help her filter the correct memories of her past. So, if my hypothesis is correct, Auntie is actually planning on turning herself into Nečke's Wayab to help her extract the corresponding memories in the different situations she may face. In an ideal world, this would be perfectly fine. As long as every extracted memory is correct, Nečke would essentially be getting her past back. And I also believe that there won't be any mistakes in everything that Auntie remembers about Nečke. But Auntie is not a Wayab. Her body won't be able to handle the load for long.
Значит, она в любой момент может...
But how can we solve this problem? No matter how we try, Tlасоли will...
Она уже приняла решение и готова заплатить любую цену.
Names are blessings for the future from people standing in the past. I've also made up my mind. Come on, let's go see Auntie.
Хорошо, а мы на этом сделаем паузу. Всем спасибо за просмотр, подписывайтесь на канал, ставьте лайк. А я с вами не прощаюсь, мы еще увидимся. Всем пока.